A Russian soldier allegedly surrenders a tank to make $10,000 and a Ukrainian citizenship, apparently. So, a Russian soldier allegedly surrendered his tank to Ukraine, claiming his military boss's war campaign was too chaotic and that he'd rather take up the Ukrainians' offer for resettlement than continue fighting. The soldier will eventually receive $10,000, a comfortable place to live, and a chance to apply for citizenship, a Ukrainian official said. The Russians are giving up. Viktor Andrasev, Ukraine's Minister of Internal Affairs, recently wrote on Facebook in a post translated to English. Andrasev said Ukraine has been sending Russia soldiers SMS messages telling them how to surrender and where to hand over their military gear. A few days ago, Misha caught us, he wrote, appearing to use an alias for the Russian soldier. Misha pulled up in a tank and was the only one left in his unit, Adrosiv claimed. That's pretty crazy. So the rest escaped home, the Ukrainian minister said. He didn't see the point of war. Misha said that there was almost no food left, military management is chaotic and practically absent, demoralization is a colossal, basically, yeah. So Andresev said soldiers detained Misha in a very comfortable setup and that he will now get $10,000 when the war ends and the chance to apply to be a Ukrainian citizen. The minister's story has not been independently verified, and Adrusev did not provide the exact date or location where the exchange allegedly occurred. Until the war ends, he will live in comfortable conditions with a TV, phone, kitchen, and shower, Adrusev said. Dang. NATO estimated last week that 7,000 to 15,000 Russian soldiers have been killed since the war began a month ago, and Ukraine has released videos of captured Russian troops crying as they apologize for killing Ukrainians and admitting that the invasion ordered by Russia's President Vladimir Putin was a terrible mistake. And here's the thing to really understand. If this is true as to what actually happened, what this Russian defector needs to do is if he actually ends up getting the money and also becoming a citizen, if that ends up actually happening, he needs to manage that money really well to create a new life for himself, a good life, a better life. And this is the thing, he's probably going to have a pretty hefty emergency fund. Like the majority of that $10,000 is basically going to be an emergency fund for him to simply like survive. Then he's going to use that money to try to find a way to make money in Ukraine while also trying to become a citizen. If he becomes a citizen, it'll be a lot easier for him to end up making money in Ukraine if he ends up actually even getting accepted into Ukraine. And really, he just needs to slowly, well, not really slowly, but he needs to do it in a fast way of integrating himself into Ukraine to be able to start making money on a regular, consistent basis to where he could start leveling up his life in Ukraine as a Ukrainian citizen. So there's like a lot of ways to really think about this, but if this is true and if they are able to get Russian soldiers to end up going to Ukraine, basically defecting to Ukraine, that is going to be an extremely heavy burden on Russia, right? Because if they end up getting a lot of Russian soldiers to defect, to start a new life as a Ukrainian citizen, that is going to bring in a lot more chaos in the Russian military. But also, because financially speaking, there may be some Russians not really doing so well, providing a way for them to actually make a really good amount of money by defecting could actually be really enticing, right? That alone, the $10,000, that alone potentially could sway a lot of Russian soldiers. And the interesting about it is because Ukraine has been getting massive amounts of cryptocurrency donations, they should actually have a decent amount of money that they could actually use to basically bribe Russian soldiers to defect to Ukraine. But here's the thing, if they're able to defect a lot of, let's say, Russian tank drivers or like tank crew members or people that are like higher up, that's actually gonna not really bode well in terms of Russia's Russia's military. The only thing that I would be worried about is that if things start to collapse in Russia and Putin feels like he has no options available to him to where he doesn't look like a fool and he doesn't look like he completely screwed everything up, how like how much is he willing to bring everything else down with him? Would he potentially do like a nuclear war? Would he potentially shoot off a nuclear missile? Right? Like this gets into like a really weird state where okay, you could defect a lot of Russian soldiers potentially, right? Because of the crazy amount of cryptocurrency money that you got. But what next? Like what is the aftermath of getting a lot of Russian soldiers to defect? Because it's unlikely that this will just end, basically peacefully. But you also got to think about it too. How many how many Ukrainian citizens now view Russians as enemies purely, right? Like, could they really commingle anymore? So it's going to be an interesting outcome as to what will actually happen, right? Now, I do think it's smart for Ukraine to be offering like basically an easy way for Russians to make 10K by defecting. I think that's a smart plan. I think they could actually get a lot of people. I think they could actually even get pretty high ranked people or people that actually have pretty important jobs in the Russian military with the $10,000 payout. The only thing is, what is the aftermath of doing that? Like, if it ends up being very successful, what are the effects of that, and what is Putin going to do in terms of reacting to it or responding to it? Like, how crazy will he end up getting? Like, how crazy will he end up get after he realizes, wait a minute, I have so many soldiers literally defecting and going to Ukraine. Like we are getting betrayed by our own people. How crazy will Putin become? So it's going to be very interesting to see what ends up actually happening. But feel free to give your thoughts because I think it's smart. I think it's a smart plan. I just don't know what will end up happening if it ends up working too well.